Like and follow if you love horror. Sure, everyone had a specific job for the military and had worked on more than one project entitled Top Secret, but we only got small glimpses of little sections. What would be the best material to cool a propulsion system X? What are the most efficient ways to collect particle Y for samples? All little snippets of a bigger picture we never got to see. More of that good old-fashioned military need-to-know nonsense. Listen, Casey got right into it. No way we keep cryogenic ammonia to cool some theoretical engine. And our little reactor has a hell of a lot more output than just some experimental reactor. We all know they're experimenting with negative protons. Imagine if just a small cluster of negative protons collided with some protons. That could create a massive nuclear discharge of intense heat, eradicate all organic life, and provide such a slight amount of actual force that the desiccated plant life would remain standing. It would be like flash cooking everything in the gray zone, and the radiation would quickly dissipate in seconds, untraceable. You think they're making a sneaky bomb? Reggie knew there was no such device, but said the name like it was hip dark web lingo. Imagine a nuclear event that took place so fast it didn't even set off early warning sensors. Our enemies wouldn't be able to retaliate, and if they did, they'd look like they started it. Casey was full of fun little conspiracy theories. It was anyone's guess as to how he managed to get security clearance for our facility. I've had enough of this. Reggie took his station in the lab and unloaded his samples. As a joke, I kept things going. Well, if it's experimental weaponry, we're going to have to eliminate other variables and try to invent a way to test for antimatter. Seriously, am I the only one here with common sense? Reggie complained out loud to no one in particular. We shared a round of chuckles at his expense. From that moment, work continued as normal, and we'd even put the necessary memory of distant gunfire behind us. The samples were our primary focus after all. It wasn't long before the concerning pattern began to emerge. No microbes, only a few traces of their comings and goings, but nothing alive, not even tardigrades. Sylvia was the first to state the obvious. Got me stumped. The only thing that can cause this is a nuclear event, and yet no radiation, Reggie confirmed. And no trace chemicals, not even residue. It has to be something like a nuclear event anyways, Casey confirmed, 3 in a row. I looked over the drone photos of the gray zone. Anyone else feel like the gray zone perfectly traces the western edge of our facility? Everyone had noticed it. The gray zone matched the western lateral of our perimeter like a cutout. This was ahead of where forward security devices were planted. Motion sensors, heat sensors, vibration sensors, all just outside of where the event took place and could be detected. If I wanted to test the detection limitations of a weapon, I do it right outside an area where our devices planted that might record it. Casey was back on his conspiracy theories again. That's also where I'd hurriedly dump a whole bunch of experimental chemicals if I was trying to avoid a court-martial, Reggie replied. He fought to remain skeptical. That's when I asked the less obvious question. What if it wasn't something trying to get out? What if the reason it's outside the security perimeter is because something was trying to get in, deployed outside security sensors and sneak in, causing trails? An experimental targeted chemical attack. Reggie's curiosity was piqued. Someone deploys a weapon on the perimeter to see if we detect it. The trails might be from testing the limitations of detection. Could be the precursor to an actual attack. Come on now, that's a little paranoid, Casey retorted without a hint of irony. And then, not long after our survey of the gray zone, we hear gunfire? Reggie was getting overexcited. His face turned red, and his words got strangled. They might have found a damn spy. This could be an attack. All right, easy does it, big fella. Casey went back to his poking fun at Reggie. But anyone could tell he was also unsettled by the recent events. Where's the rat? Sylvia broke the conversation. Those words made everyone nervous in the room. Inside the plastic specimen bag, once smeared with blood, there was simply nothing. A hole had been chewed in the side, as though by a live rat. Maybe it was in torpor, Casey said, standing up and backing away from the specimen bag. The rest of the team did the same, slowly backing away to find a wall. Our lab was sealed. Even the ventilation system was secured, sealable, and independent. The rat couldn't get out, which meant it was still in there with us. There was plenty of places for it to hide. Desks and storage lockers lined the room. Tables filled the center with all manner of equipment. Our heads began to bob around the side, back, and bottoms of our furnishing. Come on, it's just one fucking rat. Reggie liked to talk tough, but even he was nervously skirting the walls of the lab with the rest of us. Just then, the door to the lab opened, and everyone jumped with a start. We all reached for what was available to defend ourselves. Even now, I'm not sure why. It's like we all expected a giant mutant rat to walk in. However, it was just Sergeant Nunez, from the West Guard post. He looked around at all of us like we each had 6 heads. We were there, holding an assortment of dissection tools, paperweights, and heavy glassware. Did I come at a bad time? He asked, uncharacteristically sarcastic. Shit, was the first words that escaped my mouth. Close the damn door, get out. He closed the door without hesitation, but asked, Get out? That damn rat wasn't dead, and it's the only organic specimen we have, I explained. I watched Corporal Weedy crush that rat flat. Trust me when I say it, it's dead. Nunez nodded a little, weirded out by our circumstances at the time. Sylvia just pointed to the empty specimen bag. Apparently not. Now even Sergeant Nunez was on edge. I don't believe he was afraid of rats, but the idea of the remnant rat must have assaulted his imagination of even the most logical and skeptical mind. Nunez, if the base was experimenting with zombie weapons, you'd tell me, right? Reggie was half joking. Nunez didn't respond and drew his gun. Right, Nunez? You tell old Reggie, right? Put that damn thing away, I said to Sergeant, noting the gun. If it's alive, we need to capture it alive for study. And I'll not have you discharging your weapon in a lab filled with dangerous chemicals. Sorry, he replaced the weapon in his holster. What if something else, maybe another rat, grabbed it out of the bag, maybe for food? Reggie nervously looked around at everyone else, digging deep for a rational explanation. In a sealed room with no live specimens, Casey cocked an eyebrow over his troubled look. So what, it's a damn zombie rat? Reggie spasmed in a miasma of anger, fear, and confusion. Then Casey screamed. He stomped violently as he reached for the telltale gray-brown lump latched onto his ankles. There, biting and clawing at our environmental biologist, was a perfectly healthy rat, indeterminable from the mangled corpse that escaped the bag. Casey pulled at the frenzied rodent, but it had latched on tight. Within moments, half the room was trying to restrain Casey. The other half was trying to dislodge the rat. In a scramble, I filled a syringe with, and I'm not very good at these words, vacuronium, a paralytic, and plunged it into the rat. There was no discernible effect. We muscled Casey onto the table and pinned both him and the rat. Sylvia went to work, forcing open the critter's jaws with a spreader. Finally, the little bastard did relent, and she quickly shoved it into a thick glass jar. Bite through that, you little bastard! Sylvia clasped the top of the jar and gave the rat a finger. The rest of the room stared at the rat while I went back to work patching Casey's legs. It just stared back at us. Its little, beady black eyes moved from person to person, almost like it was observing us. That can't be the same rat, Sergeant Nunez observed. Corporal Weedy turned it into a furry grease stain. I could see its damn guts and bones. That's a different rat. You see any other rats in here? Reggie's face was still red and veiny. He looked like he might have a stroke. Our job as scientists is to eliminate all rational possibilities and deduce the most logical, I said. I want this room searched top to bottom, front to back, and make sure there wasn't a second rat. Anyone want to talk about